On June 19, 2025, Meituan, China's largest food delivery and local services platform, quietly released LongCat 2.0, a 1.6 trillion parameter mixture of experts language model, open weights, MIT license, a 1 million token context window, and according to the company, trained entirely without American chips. This isn't a research preview. It's not gated behind an application. It dropped on Hugging Face and GitHub, fully downloadable with documentation, benchmarks, and inference code. No restrictions on commercial use. No geographical limitations. Just a license file that says, do whatever you want with this. The implications for builders, for geopolitics, for the entire AI industry's center of gravity are significant. Let's unpack the architecture. A 1.6 trillion parameter dense model would be essentially impossible to run outside a nation-state data center. But LongCat 2.0 is a mixture of experts model. That changes the math entirely. In an MOE architecture, the model contains many specialized subnetworks, experts, but only activates a fraction of them for any given input. Based on comparable designs like DeepSeek v3 and Mixtral, LongCat 2.0 likely activates somewhere between 150 and 250 billion parameters per forward pass. The gating network decides which experts handle which tokens. This means you get the knowledge capacity of 1.6 trillion parameters with the inference cost of a much smaller model. It's the architecture that made DeepSeek v3 viable, and it's the architecture that makes LongCat 2.0 something an indie developer can actually call through an API, or with the right multi-GPU setup, self-host. The 1 million token context window is the other headline number. 1 million tokens is roughly 750,000 words, multiple novels, entire code bases, years of corporate communications loaded into a single prompt. For enterprise applications, this is transformative. Legal teams processing full discovery sets, financial analysts ingesting entire annual report histories, software engineers reasoning across sprawling monorepos. Previous open models topped out at 128 or 200,000 tokens. Gemini 1.5 Pro reached 1 million, but remains proprietary and API only through Google. LongCat 2.0 matches that context length with open weights you can deploy on your own infrastructure. No API call to Mountain View required. The license deserves its own discussion. MIT is the most permissive, widely used open source license in existence. No attribution requirements beyond preserving the copyright notice. No restriction on commercial use. No requirement to open source derivative works. No user count thresholds that trigger special terms, unlike Meta's Llama license, which imposes conditions above 700 million monthly active users. For SaaS builders, this means you can wrap LongCat 2.0 into a commercial product, a legal AI tool, a code assistant, a customer support platform, without licensing anxiety. For enterprises considering on-premises deployment and regulated industries like healthcare, finance, or defense, MIT eliminates the legal ambiguity that makes procurement teams hesitate. This is not an academic gesture. It's a strategic choice to maximize adoption. Meituan claims LongCat 2.0 was trained entirely on domestically produced hardware. While the company hasn't specified the exact chips, the leading candidates are Huawei's Ascend 910B and 910C processors, the same chips DeepSeek reportedly used for portions of its training runs. This matters because of context. Since October 2022, the United States has imposed increasingly aggressive export controls on advanced AI chips to China. NVIDIA's A100 and H100, the workhorses of frontier model training, are banned for export. The explicit goal, stated by Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, was to maintain an American lead in artificial intelligence. LongCat 2.0, if the hardware claims hold, represents another data point suggesting those controls are not achieving their stated objective. Chinese labs are training frontier-scale models anyway and releasing them openly. LongCat 2.0 doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of an accelerating pattern. Alibaba's Qwen team has been shipping open-weight models at a relentless cadence. Qwen2, Qwen2.5, the reasoning-focused QW series. DeepSeek shook the industry in January 2025 with R1, a reasoning model that matched or exceeded OpenAI's O1 on key benchmarks at a fraction of the cost. Now Meituan enters the arena at an even larger parameter scale. Each release follows a similar playbook. Open weights, permissive licensing, strong benchmark performance, and pointed demonstrations of hardware independence from American supply chains. The collective effect is the emergence of a parallel AI ecosystem, one that doesn't require access to NVIDIA chips, American cloud platforms, or US-controlled APIs. For the global developer community, the practical implications are immediate. If you're building a startup in Southeast Asia, Latin America, Africa, or Europe,
You now have access to a frontier-scale model with no licensing fees, no usage restrictions, and no dependency on a single American hyperscaler. You can call it through Chinese cloud APIs, or increasingly through third-party inference providers building around these open models. If you're an enterprise in a regulated sector, you can deploy it behind your own firewall. Your data never leaves your infrastructure. That's not a feature you can get from OpenAI or Anthropic today. The competitive pressure this puts on closed model providers, particularly on pricing, is substantial. It's difficult to charge premium API rates when a comparable open model exists under MIT license. Important caveats remain. Independent benchmark verification for LongCat 2.0 is still in early stages. The model's actual performance on real-world tasks, as opposed to curated benchmarks, needs extensive community testing.
The domestic hardware claims haven't been independently audited. Long context performance often degrades in the middle of the window, a known issue called lost in the middle, and it's unclear how well LongCat 2.0 handles this at the million-token scale. The model's training data composition, potential biases, and safety properties also require scrutiny. Open weights enable inspection, but a 1.6 trillion parameter model is not trivially auditable. Step back far enough and the picture that emerges is striking. The United States bet that controlling chip exports would control AI capability. Chinese labs responded by optimizing training efficiency, developing alternative hardware, and, critically, open sourcing the results. LongCat 2.0 is a 1.6 trillion parameter model with a million-token context window under the most permissive license available, reportedly built without a single American chip. Whether or not it matches GPT 4.5 or Claude Opus on every benchmark is almost beside the point. The point is that the moat is narrowing, and every open release makes it narrower, not just for American AI companies, but for any business model predicated on keeping frontier AI capabilities scarce and proprietary. The code is on GitHub, the weights are on Hugging Face. The license says, build whatever you want. What happens next is up to the builders.